Heavy rains and winds battered the Western Cape on Sunday and today, causing significant disruptions to mobility across the Western Cape this long weekend. Provincial traffic law enforcement are assisting local authorities and traffic control, and teams from the Department of Infrastructure are working to restore damaged roadways as quickly as possible. Now, residents are advised not to leave their current location and delay their travel back even to the Western Cape due to the widespread road closures and unsafe conditions. Let's get an update now, joined by the Western Cape Mobility MEC, Ricardo Mackenzie. Good to have you, MEC, and thank you very much for your time. Maybe let's begin with the situation, because I believe it is quite fluid and changing, and there are always developments that are happening as the storm progresses. Are the storms expected still, or have they passed, and are you expecting any changes as far as patterns are concerned and sea levels?
Thank you for having me this evening. Well, the storms are still continuing as we speak. It is raining still in many places in the Western Cape. High winds even where I am right west. Extremely heavy winds at the moment. And we, as you said, we urge people to stay where they are, because the roads are not open yet. We're struggling to open the roads due to the heavy winds and the heavy rains in some areas. So if you have not left part of Mossel Bay, if you haven't left George, if you haven't left Caledon, if you haven't left Laingsburg, we urge you to please stay there, find accommodation. In Robertson, for example, the schools has been open to accommodate people there this evening. It is still fluid. We are trying to open the roads as fast as we can, but we have to take into account the safety of all road users.
Motorists who are already traveling on the affected routes, what's your advice for them? What are you suggesting they do?
Motorists already on the affected routes, what we have done at the moment is to, if you're safe where you are, please stay there. If you are, for example, the R62, R60 in Robertson, which is the most affected area, the schools has been open. Please find your nearest schools. Also call our 0860 142 142 number. They will give you information on where to go. But if you are on any of the routes, our provincial traffic officers are also out on the roads, even where we are right now. They are giving motorists advice. They are telling motorists where to go, where it is safe to do so. On the N2 near Grabo, for example, they're allowing 30 cars at the moment to go through. Our provincial traffic officers are using their judgment, obviously, to ensure that everyone arrives safe. But if you are on the road at the affected areas, our 0860 142 142 number will give you guidance. But if you have not left Caledon, or if you have not left Mossel Bay, not left George, Laingsburg, please stay where you are. Do not proceed, because it's going to be very difficult and unsafe to get through those areas.
How effective are the early warning systems currently as far as the disaster management processes that you're taking?
Well, our early warning systems are very effective, and I must give a thank you to the South African Revenue Services that give information. But having continuous rains, continuous winds is difficult for any early warning system. A long weekend in South Africa, as you know, it has a month weekend, people coming back from different parts of the province, from outside of the province, people wanting to get to work, wanting to get to their families. It is extremely difficult to contain people coming from other parts of the province. But we are trying to manage it as best as we can. But with the continuous rains that hasn't been stopped over the last day or so, and is still continuing as we speak, it makes it extremely difficult for any disaster management system to trying to contain hundreds of thousands of people and people on the road trying to get our economy going. It is difficult, but we are managing as difficult as it is and trying to contain the situation to ensure no life gets lost.
So what's the extent of the damage? For example, we are reading reports of minor damages in the West Coast, at least in certain areas, the Cape Winelands, where you are keeping a close eye, the Berg River being full there. Where are you seeing your biggest concerns as far as damage to road?
Well, there are currently assessments taking place, but our biggest damage is in the Garden Route, the Overberg, and the Cape Winelands area, the R60, R62 areas, the N1, Swellendam. It is extensive, but our disaster management and our infrastructure teams are currently trying their best to make an assessment, but they can only make an honest and clear assessment once the rain has stopped and conditions are safe to go for the engineers and the experts to go in.
Yeah. So people are being taken to alternative accommodations, as you've already mentioned. What is the expected time of reopening those roads? I mean, are they going to be in those makeshift accommodation spaces indefinitely? Are you able to give them a little bit more information as to you'll be here for 24 hours, 48 hours? How long are they going to be there for?
At the moment, we hope and we pray not longer than 12 to 24 hours. But as you can imagine, it's difficult when you have continuous rains and continuous winds. And what the provincial traffic officers are doing in conjunction with local law enforcement is to use adjustment and safety precautions. So, for example, on the N2, they're allowing 30 cars to go through using the various safety measures to ensure that no accidents take place. So, and also to ensure no one stays longer. Sorry, there's commotion going on my right-hand side with the big truck, so I do apologize for that. They're applying the adjustment, but they do not want to keep people longer than is necessary, because we know children must get back to the families, people must get to work, but taking in mind the safety is of utmost importance to ensure we do not lose any lives. That is the most important, and that's the judgment call the provincial traffic officers will make on the R60, R62, the N1 and the N2.
Yeah. MEC, speaking of trucks, the last time there was heavy downpours in the Western Cape, for example, it affected delivery of some goods to stores and so on and so forth, sustenance and food and the likes. How are you managing that situation?
Well, that is extremely difficult at the moment. As you can imagine, once you shut down the N2 and the N1, it's difficult for trucks to get through because no cars will be allowed to get through. So that is being managed at the moment. Hopefully, because it's such a short delay over 1 or 2 days, stores would have had 7 to 10 days worth of stock at minimum, and it wouldn't have such a big impact at the moment. But obviously, things can change, things are fluid, and businesses will make their own assessment and advise accordingly over the next few days. But right now, as far as I can tell, there hasn't been any big impact on deliveries in terms of stock that stores have in place. So the next few days, they should still be fine, but businesses will advise us. But we can't force deliveries through, because that will impact on the safety of not only of the truck, but on all passengers on the road, because the roads are closed at the moment.
And MEC, if we were, I suppose, to have a look at where the impact is, formal areas, informal settlements, are they all impacted alike?
Everyone is impacted. No one is spared. I mean, this has been a severe Cape storm, as we call it, a severe damage. Everyone is informal. You see from the beach areas, coastal areas, to inland. It is across the board. Everyone is impacted by the massive storm, whether in a taxi, in a bus, the roads affecting it. That is why we made the decision in our schools, so that anyone, whether you sit in a taxi, in a bus, it is not conducive for you to sit in a taxi for 12 hours while we wait for the roads to be open. So those individuals, anyone looking for accommodation in those areas, are being accommodated. And if you're not, please call our helpline 0860 142 142, because we're trying to help everyone and inconvenience people as much as you can during the most difficult conditions that we have experienced in a very, very long time.
Yeah. Having mentioned that yourself, taxis and other modes of public transport, are they operating right now? Is there any form of public transport that is operating?
The taxis are operating. As you can imagine, people, for example, who've left from the Eastern Cape, or whether from George or from Mossel Bay, that could have left early this morning or late last night, not knowing the massive impact this storm was going to have. So those have operated, but individuals in and around town, for example, Robertson, Booster, etc., those public transport operators are not operating given the conditions that we are in, but individuals coming out of town or out of the province, not knowing the severe weather conditions, they are being stopped and obviously redirected where appropriate at the moment.
Yeah. MEC, for our benefit of our viewers, just one more time, that number that people would need to contact for any information and for any assistance.
The number is 0860 142 0860 142 142, or you can go to westerncape.gov.za, and they also direct you where you can find help. So please contact us. We're trying to help everyone as much as possible. We do not want anyone to be left out in the storm or anyone to be inconvenienced.
MEC for Mobility in the Western Cape, Ricardo Mackenzie, appreciate you this evening and thank you very much for your time.